Hey there, everybody. Thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I'll be looking at issue 55 of KUTI, not sure how to pronounce it. This is a series of free comic magazines that Tommy Musturi sent along with most of the rest of his work. This is a magazine that he's involved with editing sometimes as an artist. So I really appreciate it. It's cool. It's obviously has a long history because I got 54 through 59 and I've just been going through them. So maybe you've seen some of these videos already. But since it's free and since it's a lot of cartoonists that I've never heard of before, I figured I'd just do like full flip throughs on these so people can see if there's anything they like. The ones that I've read up to this point all seem to have a theme. This one, I didn't catch a theme on it. They're like the other ones had some political themes or technology. This one, if there is a theme, it seems some of it's like folklore. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if there's a theme in this one. Anyways, we'll just go through. This is Rancho Viejo Feast, sorry, by Elisa Malo and Abraham Diaz. This one definitely had the feeling of like a fable. So I thought the theme was maybe fables of sort, but then some of them just take on autobiographies. So maybe it's autobiography. As always with these magazines, they're bilingual, so oftentimes I think it's Finnish up here. I'm not sure. Maybe not all the artists are in Finnish, but I think it's all Finnish, and then English down here. Sometimes vice versa, there'll be English here and the translation at bottom. But this is a story of a father walking his kids through the forest. He's kind of telling them a spooky story and making them put their boots on the wrong feet, and he's kind of having fun telling them a spooky story. And then they wind up getting lost, and the kids have to hide into the tree, and the tree eats them. And this is fun. I like this one. There's some drawings that are a little cluttered or hard to decipher, but there's other ones where I really like the cartooning. Like I really like this panel and how the dad is drawn, and I really like this visual of like the tree eating the kids up. So, well, it's cool. I don't know who was the artist and who was the writer, if it's a penciler, but Elisa Malo and Abraham Diaz. This story here just seems straight up autobiography. This is by Essi Niminen, Visiting Broom. And this is just a story that they say that's a Finnish word to describe someone who enjoys spending time in other people's homes. So this is a story about a girl that just likes to go over to her friend's house, and I think this is memoir, maybe not. I don't know. It seems like a memoir of this character here. I don't know if that's Essie or not. Over at a friend's house, just hanging out. Effective cartooning. It's not my favorite art that I've ever seen, but it's cool. It's fun to watch. They're such close friends that they'll take turns. One of them pees in the sink and one of them in the toilet, and then they'll switch next time. So it's cool. It's a nice little story. I like it most when it gets abstract like this, and especially it's printed with like a kind of brownish ink. It's not in black, so I like that too. That's cool. Really like this one by Mikko Varinen. They're obviously these cut paper sculptures, so they're like these little diorama boxes. I've seen a number of things like this in person, and it's really interesting that someone's making those in person, and I'm assuming displaying them on a wall because it looks like this lettering's on the wall. Maybe that's just Photoshop, but I could see this in a gallery like this. And I've spent, coming from a comics background as a kid and then moving into like gallery bound fine art for a while, I was still always thinking in terms of sequence on a wall, and I really like this. I like, if comics are going to move into galleries and museums, they need to do it on gallery and museum terms. I think it's always strange to me when I see stuff like this. Like I saw Robert Crumb in a gallery show, and it was his book of Genesis, and people were sitting there like reading it page by page on the wall, which is strange to me. Like you're there to look at kind of the whiteout and that kind of stuff, not to read it. So I think like galleries and museums, as cool as it is that comics are getting that kind of attention, I just don't think it's the right venue for proper consumption of them. But there are ways to bring images in sequence as a concern into the museum setting. I mean, I know all sequence, any well-curated show, sequence is some kind of intentional, but I like pieces like this. And then to document it and make it an actual comic and make it out of non-standard materials, it's cool, it's different. I like this one quite a bit. Some ads. Really, this just makes me jealous that we don't have a good ongoing Blueberry hardcover collection. here in English translation. I like the art on this one. I especially like the coloring in here. This is by Lucia Seta and Talvet Lamasa, Winters in Lima. And this is just a cute, again, I think it's just autobiography, a story about moving back to Montreal to take care of a relative who has cancer. And right here it says, taking care of someone sick is hard. I always feel tired and lonely and angry and sad. And I feel that pretty hard right now because we're still struggling with Tori having like long-term repercussions of COVID. She's getting better slowly, but she can't do much. She can't do much for very long without getting tired. So like it's just extra work, and it does get lonely. It's even more lonely for her and more angry for her. But like I don't know, that resonated with me because we're going through it right now. And like, yeah, you get frustrated because like extra burden on you, and they're frustrated because they can't do anything, and you're trying not to get angry at each other. You're trying to be patient and stuff, but it's hard. So yeah, this story, I felt it. This one I really like. Is this the same artist? I think there was another one by this artist, Tina. I don't know. Maybe not. Tina. Maybe this artist had something in one of the other ones. Tina Leikonen. I really like this one. It's called Cave City. And this is one of those ones where there is some like imagery in there, but it's mostly non-representational. So I just think of it as poetics of form. I keep coming back to that term. And I'm really into that lately. Like, I don't know why. Like, as a kid, I think I would have just passed this kind of stuff by, but there's something really compelling about it to me. Like, even just looking at the similarity in composition between these two, the similarity of shapes, and like just tracking the change of form between them is interesting. And then just the formal play of like having this printed gradient on there. I like all of that stuff. It's just something I can look through and just ponder on. I don't have to come away with anything from it, and I could just enjoy the way it looks. And I'm seeing more and more people doing this in ways that interest me and seem effective. This piece by Lily Williams, it looks like a big lemon, but the story is like there's this enormous thing in the town, and they're all worried that it could just blow up one day, and they all sit around contemplating, and it gets bigger, and it's like, what are we going to do with this? And so everyone chops it up and takes a piece home, and they're still worrying about it exploding, which on the surface is kind of just a strange story, but this strikes me as like really relevant these days. Like, yeah, like for me, I'm interpreting this as like this is the public discourse. It's like this thing that's ever growing and getting more and more toxic and explosive. And then we all have to like take it and own a part of it and don't know what we're going to do with it, but it still could explode at any moment. So I think that's what this is. I think this is like a little kind of parable about, I don't know if it's that specific, but it seems like that's the general kind of emotive thrust behind this story. So that's cool. Again, the cartooning is, it's functional. It does its job. Really like this one. I really like the colors, and this has a lot of those. I'm gonna blank on the name. The risograph. It has that risograph texture. I don't think this book is printed as a risograph, but it has that risograph textures to it, and I really like the intense colors. It's called Crash. This is by Pablo Boffelli. I don't know that the two are related to each other. I feel like this is two different stories. If they're related, I don't know how. But I like the look of it. It's cool. It's pretty to look at. And then there's just some more ads. So that's another issue of KUTI. So someone is eventually going to have to tell me. I'm going to have recorded all of these before someone can tell me how to pronounce this. But anyways, that's another issue of KUTI. So thanks so much to Tommy for sending that over. And thank you all for following along. Really appreciate it. If you enjoy what we're doing here on the channel, the best ways to support us are through Patreon. That gives us some extra spending money to help get books. And then the mission of Living the Line, to make better books, the best way to support that is to support what Sean's doing with Living the Line Publishing. So we'll go ahead and check out some of the books that he's put out or has coming out now. Issue number 3 of The Abolition of Man is part 2 of the sci-fi social satire story that I started in issue 2 of Abolition of Man. Sean has picked up the writing reins for issue 3 and taken my story and expanded upon it and given it an ending. We're asking, this is still all entirely illustrated by the Midjourney AI. We're just asking it to work in the pen and ink style that we were using for issue 2. It's one of the funniest, scariest, most interesting looking comics that you'll get in a long while. So definitely check this out. And if you haven't, make sure you get all the issues 1 and 2 and 4 and 5 when they come out as well. The Exile by Eric Creek is a gorgeously illustrated Viking saga of revenge. Eric Creek calls it his Viking Western. It's about a guy who's been away on the warpath and is returning home to some family troubles that have to be resolved. And this is told in just this amazing, like, kind of 3-color art style that looks like old woodblock cuts or something. It's absolutely gorgeous book that you've got to pick up. Thanks for following along. Take it away, Jack.
You want to see all these books? Smash that subscribe button and the like button and the bell, and then you get them.